true paranormal story.
Nobody's ever gonna believe this. What the heck did I just see? Started seeing ghosts when I was only 8 years old. I saw that boy disappear.
This isn't real. Welcome to the Raker'z Dozen. Raker'z Dozen. Welcome to another episode of the Raker'z Dozen, a true paranormal stories podcast. And if you're new to the show, I appreciate you stopping by because, as promised, I have another story from the street I grew up on, La Docena Lane. And this story is my first paranormal experience. And just as a reminder, if you have a paranormal experience that you'd like to share, please email me at therakersdozen@gmail.com. Okay, let's get into it. This is another story from the same house as the princess episode. Except this time, something strange actually happened to me. And it was the first time I remember something paranormal had me questioning if ghosts were real. As I mentioned before, my mom grew up in this house, and so did we. So this was just the beginning of a life filled with unexplainable things. I was about 7 or 8 years old when my Uncle Mario passed away. He actually lived next door to us with my aunt, their son, and 2 grandkids. But for privacy reasons, I'm not going to mention their names. My dad was already gone, so it was just my mom raising 4 kids alone. 4 kids. I don't have many memories of my uncle. I honestly can't even remember what he looked like. I just remember my mom spent time next door with them often. She used to cut my aunt's hair, and they were pretty close. My aunt really looked after my mom after my dad left us when I was about 5 years old. My aunt was my grandpa's sister, so she's known my mom her entire life. At the time, I really didn't understand what death was. I mean, I was just a kid and hadn't learned that people actually die. I know it sounds strange, but it's one of those things that if you have kids, like I do now, it's not a topic that you bring up until you have to. It wasn't until later that we read Charlotte's Web at school that I realized we all die at some point. And I remember coming home after finished reading it at school and telling my mom that I didn't want to die. I grew up in the 80s, so it was a different time. We literally watched cartoons Saturday morning and Saved by the Bell. Very innocent existence. Can you imagine a world without the internet or instant access to any movie you want on a streaming platform? It's crazy, I know. I'm kind of getting off track here. Well, one day I knew something was wrong. I could just tell the energy felt weird when we went next door to visit my aunt. My mom seemed really sad and my aunt was crying a lot. But honestly, I just played with my little cousins, just business as usual. I don't think my mom even really told us that my uncle had passed away. But looking back now, we must have visited after the funeral. I don't remember actually attending the funeral, but maybe we did. After what seemed like hours, I grew bored and hungry. Whatever they were serving, I didn't want to eat it. Not gonna lie, I was a picky eater back then. So I just asked my mom if I can go home and make something to eat, like a bowl of cereal or something. And reluctantly, she agreed, so off I went and walked home, which was just next door. I chose to walk up the stairs to the side of our house. It was just quicker than walking all the way around the house to the front door. And that side door led straight into the kitchen, so it made sense to me. The moment I opened the door, something felt strange. For the first time in my entire life, no one was in the house. No one was in the house. My older brothers were out with their friends, while my other brother stayed with my mom at my aunt's house. It was absolutely quiet, and so quiet, I could hear my footsteps and the floors creaking as I walked into the kitchen. So I started feeling uneasy, but I was hungry and really wanted some cereal. I mean, it was Captain Crunch after all. So I opened the upper cabinet where we kept the bowls. My mom used to have some old ceramic bowls that we used for menudo. You know, those ones that typically have that brown stripe that runs around the inner part of the bowl? Well, there was a stack of 5 of them in there. And I loved using those bowls because you could fit a lot of cereal in them. But just as I was about to grab a bowl, I heard something in the living room. It sounded as if someone coughed and cleared their throat. It startled me, but I figured it was one of my brothers who came home early or something. So I started walking towards the living room, calling out for them. Somebody here? Somebody here? Hello? Hello? I walked into the living room and no one was there. But I figured maybe they walked into one of the other rooms. So I started checking each room, and every few seconds I would say, hello? Hello? Stop messing with me, guys. Stop messing with me, guys. I checked every room and no one was there. The silence was making me feel uneasy and I could hear my heart beating in my ears. I eventually figured it was probably someone outside. I heard my stomach growl and I remembered I was still hungry, so I headed back into the kitchen. With the cabinet still open, I reached for the bowl again and I heard the cough again. This time, I know it was coming from the living room, and I could see from where I was standing that there was no one there. Then I heard the crash, and I spun around to find a bowl on the counter just below the cabinet. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it was gonna explode. And then I noticed it. The bowl was cracked right down the middle, and there was two symmetrical pieces, maybe an inch apart from each other, still standing upright. Confused, I stared at them. How could the bowls have fallen when the bowls were stacked on top of each other in the cabinet? And if it was a ceramic bowl that fell from the cabinet above the kitchen counter, it should have shattered everywhere. And yet, this bowl was now split in half right down the middle. No other broken pieces anywhere. My little brain was trying hard to understand how the two halves are still standing upright. Even then, my logic told me those pieces should have fallen over, one falling to the left and one falling to the right. I figured I better just throw them away. I didn't want my mom to get upset with me and give me a lecture that I knew she would. So I tossed the two halves of the bowl away and just got another bowl. Even though I'm scared and confused, I'm still hungry. I made my cereal, went into the living room, and turned the TV on. I didn't think twice about how weird it was until a few years later. A few years later, my mom mentioned that Uncle Mario used to cough and clear his throat often, and I just happened to overhear it. My heart started pounding, and I walked over to them and asked, Uncle Mario used to cough and clear his throat? A little confused, my mom responds, yes, he had a very distinct cough and a way of clearing his throat. My body instantly got chills. She asked me, sweetie, are you okay? I just nodded my head. It was at that moment I realized my Uncle Mario must have been the one that came to visit me in the house that day, and that some type of door was open, or my sensitivity to the paranormal started then. I never told my mom that story. 37 years later, I'm still experiencing things. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed the story, please help me out by subscribing and leaving a 5-star review. This will help the show grow so I can bring more true paranormal stories to you. And if you have a story you'd like to share, I'd love to read it. So please email me at therakersdozen@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We are just getting off the ground, so please show some support. The links are in the description. Thanks for listening to the Raker'z Dozen, a true paranormal story podcast.